Hi! So, I'm just gonna jump right into it because I have a lot of ground to cover today. But when talking to my friends and family, I mention sociological perspective a lot. And many times they stop me and they say, what is that? I don't know what that is. So I decided to make a quick video to explain it. So I am a sociologist. I have my degree. Sociology is the study of society. There are multiple different societies within our society. So our society is like all of America, you know, or you can even go bigger and go the world, but no one studies the entire world as a whole. We break it down. So within America, we have the military community, which is society in itself. We have the Black community, a society within itself. We have women, we have men, we have the LGBTQ community. We have the vegan community, which is a society within itself. We have the disabled community, we have the prison population, we have substance user population. All of these are separate societies within America. It can go as small or as big as you want it to be. So you can break it down and say the African American substance user population. That's a society, and it's smaller than just the substance user population because that would include everyone, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all of that, versus saying the African American substance user population breaks it down to a specific, even more specific within society. Vegan as a society does not have a very good sociological definition. The thing about societies within sociology is they're very well defined most times. There are a lot of times where there's a lot of gray area because society isn't just how one is defined by others, it's also how that one person defines themselves. So it gets a little complex. But with veganism specifically, we have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. One of the things is how we as vegans define the difference between being vegan and being plant-based, right? Then you have people who are vegetarian, pescatarian, all these other things. And then within all these different things, you have different diets, right? So you can ask 23 different vegans, which one of the studies that I will mention in a few minutes actually did ask 23 different vegans what their definition of veganism is, and everyone had a different definition. The British Sociological Society uses the Vegan Society's definition of veganism, which is the exclusion of all animal anything as far as possible and practicable. Now, the other study that did 23 different vegans just stuck with the diet as a definition, exclusion of animal products from your diet, because it's a lot easier to define it that way. Because within veganism, again, so many different things going on. Now, back to the British Sociological Society definition, because that is a definition that is most commonly used among us that do define ourselves as vegan. Possible and practicable was the wording that they specifically focused on, because even that makes the definition of veganism so much more complex. Because you have, okay, yes, someone who doesn't eat animals, use animals, wear animals, use them for entertainment, etc., etc. But what is possible and practical to you would be different from me. This takes us back a little bit to the KFC conversation, which isn't the topic of this video, so I'm not going too deep into it. But basically, in short, what is possible and practical for you might be to never go to KFC. But what is possible and practical for somebody else might be it's still vegan, I'm gonna eat it, right? So what defines veganism is so complex and really doesn't have a very clear definition. I believe the state of California, which don't quote me on, I'm gonna look it up to see, I believe they are the only state in America that has a definition for the word vegan. But I don't think anyone else does, not just yet anyway. But I know as far as sociologically speaking, we don't really have a very clear definition, because even the definition that is the most clear has wording in it, possible and practical, that makes it unclear. I am not going to define what possible and practicable is to me. However, I do want to know what you think is possible and practicable for you and how that should be defined within society. I want to have an open dialogue here. And in order to have an open dialogue, I need for this to be the comment section, to be respectful. And I, for one, as a sociologist, is really looking to just sit back and see what you all think, because that's important here. Now, I myself have several different societies, as most people are made up of several different societies that make our identity. I am vegan, I am Black, I am a woman, I am a sociologist. Those are 4 different things that make me who I am. Those 4 things all intersect. Now, intersectionality is something that is controversial among the vegan community, but it is not controversial among the sociologist community, because all things, or at least most things, and I've not found something that does not yet intersect, but for the sake of argument, most things in life intersect with each other. At least most societies do. With that being said, me as Black and also being a woman, I am a Black woman. That intersects. I am not only a Black woman, but I am also vegan. That intersects. I am a sociologist. That all intersects. I am a vegan, Black sociologist woman, right? Whatever, however you want to put it. Those are 4 different identities that I have. Those are 4 totally separate societies that I am a part of. And they shape me, just as whatever different societies you are a part of shapes you. You can be a part of the LGBTQ plus community. You could be a part of the women community. You can be a part of the vegan community. You can be a part of any different community, but the issue does not become what different communities you're a part of. It becomes how they all intersect. For example, a major part of the women community is the Me Too movement. Now, the Me Too movement has several different intersectional failures. For example, the Me Too movement, when you think about it as a whole, you think of white women, which is unfortunate because it excludes Black women, it oftentimes excludes men, and it excludes several other different societies that I'm not going to go into, because it's a lot easier to just stick with the basic societies that everyone can much easily understand. Now, the Me Too movement excluding men specifically is so harmful because 1 out of every 10 men are victims of sexual assault. That's a high number. Now, to be even more specific, male students are 5 times more likely than just the average male to be sexually assaulted, specifically male college students specifically. 1 in 14 men have had an attempted or completed sexual assault done to them. These are what we call intersectional failures because the Me Too movement does not include men, at least not openly. Men do not have the same resources or support that white women do within the Me Too movement. Now, this is just one example, one very clear example that I could give within intersectional failures. But there are several. When we talk about Black women are not supported with the same resources that white women are. We might have literally the same resources, but the problem becomes the fact that Black women, those resources are less effective for us. It's a totally different society that goes by different rules, different way of living, different everything, which makes those resources less effective. Not that white women are specifically trying to out black women from the movement, and not that they're specifically trying to out men from the movement, but these are two different societies from the society of being a white woman. Which means in order for these two societies, being a black woman and being a man, to properly use the resources that are given to white women isn't gonna happen. We need different resources, which makes it an intersectional failure. Not only that, but we're not seen within the movement. Neither black women or men. They're not seen within the movement. You think about the movement and you initially think white women. This white woman was attacked, right? That's the initial thought. This white woman was attacked. Now you might just say this woman was attacked, right? But still, you're not talking about this black woman that was attacked, right? You're not talking about this man that was attacked. You're talking about the white woman. And that's okay. That is. But it still needs to include other societies. Otherwise, it's a failure. Another intersectional failure, and the one that matters most here, is veganism. Veganism has several intersectional failures, but I use the Me Too movement because it focuses on the same thing and excludes the same things. It focuses on white women. White women are the face of the movement. They always have been. It's used to be old white women, but still nonetheless white women. Elderly society is a society within themselves. Elderly white community, the elderly white women, they're a whole different society. But nonetheless, still a part of the white women's society. This movement, the vegan movement, has always been faced by white women, leaving black people, men, Native Americans, Hispanics, Asians, all fairly out of the picture. Now, within the movement, I've noticed that men specifically are more sexualized in a much different way than they would be in other societies. And black people, while we are there, while we can be seen, we're never seen just for being vegan or just for being a part of the vegan society or the vegan movement. We oftentimes were already famous for something else, whether we were an actress or a singer or whatever else, right? We were already famous for something else, and then we just happened to also be vegan. However, white women specifically are on the face of everything, right? Even down to our advertising. If you've seen the Just Egg advertising, you have this white woman and this super hot guy, and he's doing something, I don't know what he's doing in the video, but he's vegan, right? And so she's cooking just eggs and making some meal with the Just Egg stuff. And they're like, is she doing this for the movement, for the animals and to join his plight? Nah, she's just doing it because they're delicious. And you know that they meant they as in the guy and the eggs. You know, it was very sexualized for white women. It was not advertised to black women. It was not advertised to men. Because no man is gonna look at that unless they're, you know, part of the LGBT community. But for the most part, men aren't gonna look at that and be like, well, damn, he's hot. So, with that being said, it wasn't really advertised to men. They didn't plan it for men. They didn't plan it for Native Americans or black people or anyone else. They specifically advertised it for white women. These are intersectional failures, and these different intersectional failures cause a problem when going forward with the movement. It slows it down because it takes longer for people of the black community, people of other different societies to join on board. Now, we know, just to further alliterate, we are aware that black people, the black community, are the ones that are really starting to push the movement forward, right? But we're doing it for different reasons, right? For the most part, black people tend to care more about their health, which is why we are moving towards more of a plant-based diet. But we're still not the face. We're still nowhere near the face of the movement. You think of different people who own nonprofits and whatnot within the animal rights movement, it's oftentimes white people. So intersectionality, although it is a strange topic for the vegan movement, it is very important. And it's so important because we are slowing down the movement. We're putting it on pause. We're making it take longer than it needs to because we're not advertising it. We're not doing our outreach. We're not doing any other form of activism in the way that best communicates and best reaches other forms of society. Now, I oftentimes mentioned Black people, Black women, white women in this, but it is not exclusively that. Intersectionality is, again, all different societies within our society. With that being said, I think that we should take intersectionality into account so that we can cater our activism, our outreach, even our businesses to different societies to get them interested or at least talking about veganism in a different way. Now that you understand intersectionality a little bit more, tell me how you plan on using it for your outreach, activism, and or business. And if you don't plan on using it, tell me why. Now, as we know, intersectionality is within veganism is not oftentimes talked about in terms of different societies. As a sociologist, we look at different things differently. However, the more controversial form of intersectionality is how different movements specifically intersect. Now, I don't want to go into this just yet, but I might make a video on it later. So let me know if you want an interest in that from a sociological perspective, because now you also know what sociology is. Bye! Wishing everyone peace, love, and positivity. Oh, and I'm wearing my Vegan is not a diet shirt, available on my website. Check it out. Now, bye.